Okay, let me pull up the meeting agenda.
So you're now live on your mics and your camera.
Okay, we are live, but I'm not ready. So let me get the agenda up real quick. Okay. Since the meeting's kind of already started, we're jumping right into citizens' time. No one on the list? Anybody out in the audience? Okay, we're good to go. Okay, so we'll start off with the department reports.
All right, so you have my business manager reports, or town manager reports now, so this will be the only time that they're split. I did forget 1 week. My grandfather passed away, so that's why I didn't do one that week. And really, we've been working on the meeting for the June 29th, June 30th, and then you all's meeting. So I stand ready to answer any questions, and I know that you all will have additional questions throughout the rest of the agenda, so I stand ready.
Okay, does anybody have any questions right off? I guess.
Yes, sir.
Bob?
Is nobody else going to have them?
Oh, I got some. I'm just waiting to be the end.
Real couple of quick ones. Status of Jefferson Street, potential completion date?
As of right now, we are still looking in August. And we do have the schedule for the road closure here on Jefferson that we will re-articulate. It's going to be this week. We're going to re-articulate tonight once we leave, because this message board, I'll take a short video of it once it's dark after this meeting, and then I'll post that just on social media. So anybody out there watching, please remember that Jefferson Street will be closed for 2 days for the construction. So you'll have to go to 15 or Cat Harpin. Yeah. Yes,
Has the company, have they put up VMS boards out there on Jefferson?
Emily's going to.
So they have put up all of their proper detour signs, their variable message board. They've
Okay.
also asked us to do our posting. The closing is tomorrow and Wednesday, and it is from 8 to 4 p.m., and then it'll be open overnight for residents to access their homes.
Okay, thank you.
On that topic, Ms. Emily, where are they closing it
So,
heading south on Jefferson?
okay, so they're going to close it right here at the intersection. So if you were to head north past Route 55, so if you're headed north on Jefferson, you cannot do that on the north side of Route 55. What they're doing is they're putting in a stormwater pipe that goes across Jefferson Street, and that's why they need to close it for the 2 days. If you're coming from Heathcote and you're headed south on Jefferson Street, you cannot do so. You'll have to go down to the 15 interchange and come around that way.
What prevents people from driving through Longstreet Commons?
They will have flaggers, and the road is blocked up at the top at Heathcote, and it'll be blocked down here at the intersection of Jefferson and Washington.
Will residents be allowed to drive through
If
that?
they show that they are a resident back there, otherwise they can come down Washington Street and they can turn in their neighborhood right there. We have called attention to that there is a back exit, so if people were to try to cut through, they need to be wary of that, and so they will have the appropriate staff there as well.
Has the HOA been contacted to send something out to the residents?
I do not believe so. We were in contact with them previously. The contractor was supposed to reach out, so I'll verify that.
If you could send Chuck an email, he could probably get a blast out to the residents. Or if you want me to do it, I can do it. Thank you.
Bob?
I'm just continuing down my list.
Can I just, on the same subject, Bob?
Okay.
Okay. So can they get into the businesses? Will they be able to get into like Pizzarama and Hidden Jewels and any other businesses along the road?
So with those businesses, unfortunately, right where the pipe is, we are having to kind of close that area. So we're trying to work with the businesses and offer up parking over here and staff park in other locations along the side or the rear to make it a little more pedestrian accessible. I do know that Pizzarama is closed this week, so it is kind of a
That's right.
convenient time for him, but we do have other businesses that are still very much so open.
Okay, good. So you're talking to them and, okay, great. Thank you.
Outside dining permits, are we all done with those? Has everybody applied? Are you expecting more?
I think everybody that was planning on applying has applied and received their permits, and, yep, they've moved forward with it.
For next month, if there's no objection, I'd like a report on the status of the cable franchise agreement, specifically when it expires, unless you know that date off the top of your head.
I do not.
Yeah, and on top of that, I would like to discuss trying to get other options in here as well, if we do address that, because I'm not happy with this provider.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that is because other providers have failed to sign the existing cable franchise agreement. That is a one-size-fits-all.
It is one size fits all because federal law requires us to treat everybody the same.
We talking cable?
Yes.
Because I have Fios. My subdivision has Fios.
Not supposed to.
How do you get it?
Yeah.
We
It's quite
called them when
possible.
we moved in 4 years ago.
It's quite possible that they're not using any public right-of-way. If they're not using any public right-of-way, they don't have to have a franchise.
I can't imagine how, but
Yeah, our subdivision
that at a
has
later date.
Fios.
Now the biggie. IT contract status, server location, and deleted files.
Maybe deleted files.
Deleted files from our server.
Like files have been purposely deleted.
That would appear to be the case, yes.
Could someone expound on that for me?
Is there a cloud? Does everything go to the cloud?
In regards to the deleted files, we have a closed session item where we'll discuss that in more detail. But yes, it's come to my attention that certain documents have been deleted, and we'll need to address that. Yes, sir.
Recently, as a change in leadership or change in council recently?
Correct. And like I said, we'll have additional information in the closed session item. In regards to the IT, I have spoken with our IT contractor, and the server that he mentioned during the town council orientation that you all were a part of, it is a service that the town provides to back up the company files, which is basically our working files as well as our historic files that the town has, and that is held at an off-site location. He does not know the location because it's a service that is provided, so that's why he doesn't know the location of it.
Can I take this on, Bob?
Yep. Have a ball.
So who manages this server?
The company that we pay.
And like what was mentioned a while ago, like deleted files, that means it was deleted from the server also?
That is yet to be known.
But it's possible.
Yes.
I think that's a closed session item.
Oh, okay, yeah. Good point.
I take security of the town's records very, very seriously. So whatever the circumstance was last week, last month, I don't care, to some degree. I think moving forward, we need to address this. And I know that every year previously that I sat up here, there was a server with every file on it in that closet that never left, and why there's not a physical server backing up everything in this building as a security precaution and to preserve the town records is absolutely beyond me, why we don't have one.
Are you saying in addition to cloud?
In addition to whatever service, other service we've got, that we don't have a backup server in here with a copy of every town record and communication and whatever that we could access. You know, a satellite goes down, the internet blows up, there's a denial of service attack on our service provider. They go bankrupt and sell off the server that has all our documents. I mean, whatever the reason. I would like, again, if there's no dissent, without dissent, I would like for us to explore putting a backup server in this place to back up everything locally. Maintain the IT contract, although quite frankly, I'm not real happy with the answers that we've been getting from our current IT provider with respect to, is there a physical server? Is there not a physical server? Does it exist? Does it not exist? Is it on the cloud? I mean, maybe I'm the only one, but I thought I was getting conflicting answers the other night.
But you weren't the only one. I was asking the questions.
Yeah.
And the representative told me that no one could read another person's emails unless it went through him. And then he further went on to say he didn't give anyone permission to read them. So it wasn't, it was conflicting. But it was uneasy just not hearing clear statements concerning the security of town's property.
Yeah, I think we're talking about two issues, right? We're talking about access and security, but we're also talking about records, which I'm very concerned about, because what kind of records are we talking about? Are we talking about emails? Are we talking about documents that are, legally in force? Are we talking about personnel records with private information? That's a real concern for me as to what type of information, or is it a Rumsfeldian kind of a thing? We don't know what we don't know. I mean, do we have a sense of what we're missing? I guess is what I'm asking. Or is that for a closed session?
Yes.
Okay.
To that end, I mean, I've got a myriad of concerns with our current IT provider. I'm not comfortable with the answers we got, and I would like for the town manager to explore other options in an expeditious fashion.
I'm totally in agreement.
I agree. Just having that security, that backup, God forbid one server goes down. Most government agencies, we have backup servers. It's a fail-safe type thing. So once server goes down, you got everything on a backup. That's a security that's needed.
So then what I'll do is I'll get a quote for the server in-house here for Town Hall, as well as some options for new IT contractor.
Would it be a problem to have that by the work session?
I don't think so. No, sir.
Andy?
Question, what happened to the server that was here?
Probably old age.
Somebody want to give us a server history lesson and why we don't have one? Because I don't know the answer officially.
Is it just?
I have my suspicions.
Obsolesced, and they just put it aside probably once they got the cloud service, IT service.
I
You
think,
guys could give a better history of it.
Good evening, Council. So originally, back when I started in 2017, the town manager at the time, Kimberly Murray, had actually budgeted for a server to be purchased through the same contractor, with the assistance of the same contractor. Throughout the course of the fiscal year, it was just never okayed. Of course, she left during her tenure there. Moving forward, it was just not something that anyone who came back to look into. But originally there was in 2015-18 money to provide a server here for the town, but it was just never moved on.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, just, my wife's an IT expert, she could probably answer this out in the audience, but the company we have right now, we have a server with them. Correct.
So, I apologize, Chris, I should have informed you more on this. We do currently have a online service called Keep It Safe.
Okay, hold right there. Now, is that not backed up by the cloud? Some use that as a backup system, the cloud itself, because they can't go in and delete that. So is that,
I can try to reach out. I really do not have a relationship with them aside from the annual bill that they charge once a year for 12 months. This is something that our current contractor, Terry, has had to reach out to them at times. I know it's encrypted, so I know even the last time he did have an issue trying to access this server as well.
because if the cloud serves as a backup to our contractor, that's a backup. Nobody can go in there and clear stuff, except the people who control the server, I believe. So, but
Regardless of the access that you have?
I believe that's the case. But again, that's a question that we definitely need to find out. We need a backup server, whether it's a cloud or a backup server to the original.
Yes, sir, you're correct. One of the other items that we need to address is what all records are being backed up in the Keep It Safe file, because that will also change some items that we'll later discuss.
Thank you.
I just need a thumbs up if the chief is here. This has nothing to do with the PD. Just show me a thumbs up. All right, cool.
Okay, anybody else? Any questions?
It's kind of hard to follow.
The directive is good, though, the directive of research and come back with some ideas of how to make it better. Does this have any bearing on our recordings, our in-house recordings? Because I know we had a problem with our recordings for June 29th.
That was a different and separate matter that we're also addressing. Essentially what happened there is the company that we use for the live streaming and the recordings of the videos, it's their equipment, and unfortunately I think the equipment is now outdated, so we've just been in contact with them to resolve that issue. So once they update the equipment, I don't think we should have continued problems. But this is a separate issue from that.
And this new server, it's not something that we would use to keep records of meetings like this?
I would actually probably have the videos recording and held on that server as well, so we'd be able to archive it.
I mean, I'm just throwing it out because that's going to determine what size we get and the capabilities of the server that we're looking at.
Correct.
Storage is
Storage
cheap
capacity.
these days.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Couple questions, Chris. I noticed that you completed a self-evaluation. Is that what that is?
Yes, sir. So actually, all of staff did it. So what we did is it's several questions. I don't have it readily available, but later I can provide you with what it was. It was several questions that were asked, items that were shortfalls or items that they felt that they could improve on, and I also completed one of those evaluations. I can provide it to you.
Oh, I like it. I mean, you could do a 360 also, I guess. As far as the, what you were talking to Bob about, the Jefferson Street project, you said August. Do you have a kind of tentative date when that might be finished in August? Is that early or at the end?
Yes, it should be early with the final inspections and everything getting done. Emily can probably speak a little bit. There you go.
I talked to the contractor today, so due to the holiday, they weren't working, but he swung by. They're projected to finish in the next 3 weeks or so. They only have milling and paving left after they close the road this week. So they're coming up real quick on their finishing.
Oh, good.
So I'd say the first week of August, we would be done with that.
And within or under budget? Do we know?
Billing is a little different because of all the funding sources that we have to include VDOT and items like that. So certain firms bill monthly because they have to get certain things approved and ran up the flagpole and come back down. So as of right now, everything is on pace to be on budget.
I would say the only minor change we had was one minor change order to connect a sump pump pipe from the whole fish house out to the proper areas. So that's the only minor change, and that was under $500.
No, that's pretty good, okay. Just one more question, let me put my glasses on here. You know, I noticed the street sweeping, that was what, last Sunday?
Yes, sir.
And the scope of that, was that just to do the main streets? Because I remember in the past, we used to have twice a year, and they would do all the neighborhoods. So, is any thought about that?
Yes, it was, the Washington Street only was done on that Sunday. That was the request the previous town manager made, and mayor, especially with regards to the, marches and demonstrations that we've been having.
Okay.
It was one of those things that, we had two, and it was just unsightly, is, you know, we had trash on the sidewalks and certain items like that that he wanted to address, especially on Washington Street. And it was quite inexpensive to do just the Washington Street section. And it was done, like you said, that Sunday, I believe it was the 28th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank
Joe,
you.
good, two, you can also request VDOT sweep the streets, as you know.
Yes, sir.
So if you don't have the point of contact, I'll give, because it's my previous office here, my position, and depending if the sweeper's up and stuff like that, they'll come out, because I know the Divergent Diamond, I'd asked them about 2 months ago to do, and the sweeper broke down before they did it. But, so that's just another avenue, whether they can or can't, but it's easy to request it.
Do you mean for free?
Yes,
That was
yeah,
gonna
at
be my
VDOT
question.
expense.
So why are we spending money if we have a service?
Well, the thing is, it probably only does the main roads. Would they do the
They-
neighborhoods?
They do not do subdivision, it's primaries.
We just did the main roads on the 28th.
55 and 15 is considered primary, that's what they hit. They don't do subdivision roads.
Yeah, but we just did.
Oh, yeah.
On the 28th, we only did Washington,
Yep.
so we could have saved that money.
Well, again, I requested it 2 months ago and went to the guy that I got to replace me, and because, as you know, I'm in charge of Fairfax now. Their sweeper was broken down, and that's why they didn't get to it. And they get a lot of requests throughout the county, you know, to sweep, especially at the start of spring and everything, when there's sand down and everything else. So I'm just saying that's another avenue to contact, his name is Bobby Shetley, to request that they come out and do it from, you know, as they can. It's not a guarantee.
We'll get you his cell phone number.
I'll give you his email address, so.
Okay, you done? Okay, I got a few questions. I'm very disappointed in the transition that went on between the council, from the previous council to the new council. Do you have any input on the stress that it's put on you? I don't really see much from the reports on what that did. You know, some things I was thinking, is it worthwhile to maybe try to come up with some type of transition plan so that this goes a little bit better? Also, you know, maybe, you know, instead of the full month of antics that we had last month, we put in a resolution or something, maybe to make the last month of a term a transition month, in which you do have, as you know, with a lot of government contracts on operations, you have a transition in and a transition out plan required with your contracts. Do you feel we need to address it? Because I feel we rushed to get this meeting together with agenda items and also get it published in time, that it's probably going to be a little disjointed. I don't know if the audience has felt that it's been disjointed yet, but
Can that be done legally?
the question.
When the council has not, may have been sworn in even, but is not in
But they
session.
can be invited to the meetings and, you know, participate in the information, since it is public information. You know, any of the private stuff, of course, would be in closed session, which
Yeah.
no one can have, but at least there could be an exchange of, you know, here's what's open, here's, you know, and some type of dialogue.
Sure.
Because there was no dialogue.
That could even be part of your orientation, that, you know.
Yeah.
Could have done that as part of the orientation.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to speak on, for someone who came from the old council and now on this council. I would totally support that move because I was not in agreement with the last minute spending and I was not in agreement with last minute appointments. So even for us as, if we're not elected at the end of the next 2 years, to have a transition in place for the new council coming in, that if they're coming in and we're trying to make last-minute expenditures and last-minute appointments, I wouldn't feel comfortable coming onto a new council with the different boards being padded, and also there was a big rush in spending a lot of money on the 30th, 29th, 30th. So I support putting something in place where it's more transparent, but also that looks better for the town as we do a transition.
And I'm assuming that, I don't know what our powers really are, because if we get a resolution, that's something that needs to be adopted the next term around, right? So, you know, this kind of stuff can get shot down as quick as it gets put up.
They could take it out. I mean, but if we pass a resolution, then it, you know, in theory, is it going to bind them in future years? No, but it'll bind us to doing the right thing.
For this term.
For this, yes.
Yeah, correct.
And I would love to have some type of transition plan put together so that we do work off of the lessons learned here. I think, Chris, you got some lessons learned that you can actually put together something that could be slapped in a place for reuse for you if you're still here in the next term for transition.
Yes, sir. I can work on that and have that ready for review.
And as Bob said, the onus is really on the outgoing council to want this to happen.
Correct.
Because the outgoing council may look at it and say, no, we're going to do it anyway. We're going to bypass.
Some wise person once said to me, you may have the right to do something, but it may not be the right thing to do.
Are you quoting me?
No, I'm quoting Marchand. Mr. Schneider, hopefully he hears this. Yeah, I would agree. It makes a lot of sense to have a transition plan, and that's something that can be worked on. And, you know, let's face it, the council has the authority and the power till the last day. That's, I think, unavoidable. But if we lay out a plan, and it's a good plan, we should adhere to it, and then perhaps the next council will continue to adopt that, and maybe we set a precedent going forward. But obviously, in my view, it wasn't a very smooth transition. You folks did a great job in your orientation. I really appreciated it. A lot of good information, but I think you guys were chasing your tail for the last month. And I don't think that was fair to you. I don't think it was fair to us, and I don't think it was fair to the residents. So I agree.
If I could just one comment to that. Coming from the previous, I will tell you, at no time did I personally, and I'm talking about myself, nobody else on the council, did anything that I thought was illegal. I certainly voted my conscience. I sat right at that table and was up front with everything. I am transparent 100%. So, but I agree with what you're talking about here, transition plan. Obviously, we said that we need to adhere to it, and I think we will. And I agree with Joe. You know, maybe this sets a precedent that goes from time to time, so.
Okay, that's the last comment I have. If anybody is, Lynn.
I was just saying, I'm on board with the transition policy.
Okay. So, yes.
Can I just have a little additional time to work on that? I don't know if I'll be able to have that for the 27th
Yeah.
in
I don't think that's a
August.
Yeah, you
priority.
got 2 years to put that together. It's just I want it while it's
Okay.
fresh in your mind.
Yes, sir.
To
Yeah,
start to put
I'll,
together a transition plan using your lessons learned.
and I'll try and pull from other localities, surrounding localities, what they do or what they have done, and just try and have that available.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I would just want to note that at 1 hour in, he's already trying to get rid of us.
Well, that's good. That keeps our meeting short and concise, right? So I guess we'll move on to the police department.
Good evening, council, and congratulations again on your appointments or election. You have before you the numbers for the month of June. Are there any questions on the numbers only, and then we'll go into a few points?
No.
Okay.
Nobody?
Just to go over a couple things that happened this month, we had 2 protests this month and a forum. All 3 went off very well. I believe the protesters represented themselves very well, and as well as the police department and town officials that attended. Thank you guys for coming to that, and I think that we made a good name for ourselves. We allowed the peaceful First Amendment right of the protesters available to them. We blocked off roads so that they could get across without having them walk in traffic so much that people complained. So I think that we did a very good job in doing that, and I'd like to recognize my officers for doing a great job. And then also the organizers of both protests and the forum did a great job of organizing it, keeping everything peaceful, picking up trash and garbage afterwards. So I think they did a great job. I wanted to go quickly over some steps that were taken for police reform. I think both parties in Washington are arguing about this, and I'm not sure that anything will get done, so we wanted to take proactive steps here with the police department to make sure that we do something and get something rolling. So this month, we've been in contact with Versa, our insurance company, as well as Martin, with a new policy for the use of force, duty to intervene policy is what we're calling it. It is in a nutshell, it is requiring as a duty of each police officer to stop and report any excessive force that they see from any other police officer on the force. That includes myself. So if the newest officer to the oldest officer, they can stop me if they see me doing anything. Not only can they must under this policy. That was developed with our insurance company and with Martin's input. We did all of the edits that the attorney wanted, and it is now in place. Also, our current policy bars chokeholds unless it is life and death of the police officer or a resident or citizen. So we're ahead of the game on that, and it's been that way before any of this went down. Since I've been here, we haven't done any no-knock warrants, but those are very limited, and they have to be approved by a magistrate before we can do it anyway. So I'm pretty sure that those will be greatly restricted by magistrates now. You'll have to really put forth a case that it is life-threatening for us not to do a knock first. But currently, we haven't done it and haven't requested any in the 3.5 years that I've been here. We don't fire into moving vehicles. We do de-escalation training, and I'm just going over some of the reforms that have been suggested. There is no police unions for us to stop or worry about. We don't take surplus military equipment and haven't since I've been here. And there was some issues over surplus military equipment and where it went before me, which is why I've made the decision not to do that. And I think that program may come to an end eventually anyway. It was ended and then it came back, and that may be looked at, but we're not going to participate in that. We do have a use of force continuum and have had that on our policies. We do use of force reports for every use of force that is taken by our officers. It is immediately responded to, the scene is responded to by the lieutenant, and he'll take information and statements from the officer and from the victim or suspect, and then we'll follow up with that depending on where the suspect goes, to the hospital or to the jail later on after a couple of days. So all reports, all use of force are reported. And then we are now, as of July 1, every traffic stop is we have to fill out a form stating age, race, gender, why we stopped them, where we stopped them, was it a warning, was it a summons. The federal government has mandated this for every department in the United States. We started it in July 1st. We are reporting it to the state police. Now, the state police are having some issues. And let me back up. And Councilman Weir, you may know some more about this. I said it was a federal mandate. I think it's a state mandate at this point. It's not a federal mandate yet. But the state police are having some issues recording it. It was an unfunded mandate by the legislature, and now they don't know how they're going to get the money for the servers and for they've put out many edits to this. So currently, right now, we are just recording the information on spreadsheets ourselves as we make the stops, and then they'll be put into a quarterly report. And then when the state police gets their final forms that we need to do, then we'll just give them all the information that we've recorded. But that will start. That did start July 1st. And then the final thing that we're doing is a citizens advisory group. Like I told you during during the last meeting we had with you, during the swear-in, I've been in contact with all the HOA presidents, and they're on board. All the faith leaders in this town and in the vicinity, some community activists as well, and I got a couple business leaders as well. So we're going to start this group. We're going to meet maybe quarterly, but probably quarterly, and just have some contact between the police department and this group. This is not a review complaints group. This is a information session to pass information back and forth between the police department and these members, how we can help them, what are your concerns, things like that. So that will start as soon as I can put all of that together, but I'm currently working on that now. And that's the reforms that we've put into place. A lot of these were already in place prior to this. So that's all I have, and I'm open for any questions.
Just one comment, Mr. Mayor. I made this comment at the last town council meeting. The first Black Lives Matter protest that we were down at our park, a couple of the youngsters had made the comment that if all police were like the Haymarket police, they wouldn't be having that march. And I think that was a heck of a compliment. It just goes along with what I've been saying in my 3+ years on the council, is that you are truly professional, you and your team. You represent this town well, so thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Chief, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
When I came back on council last year, I was a little bit taken back to find out that your direct report was the mayor and that was your supervisor. And I actually asked you about it, and you said yes. That was what you were told when you were hired. For the purpose of organization, and this is what I came to know back in 2014 when we came on as town council, the org chart for, as it relates to the chief of police, is the chief of police reports to the council, the mayor and council.
Correct.
That has not changed as far as I'm concerned. So that's why I was taken back when you told me that the mayor is your boss. The council is who you report to. Now, notwithstanding, we have gone ahead and nominated a liaison. However, the liaison is really a person who is the conduit for the rest of the council. Now, what we will do, and I'm speaking on behalf of the rest of the council here, what we will do is, as much as we can, make sure that everything that concerns your department goes through you. And that is something that I'm hoping that the rest of the council members, they see the benefit in running everything through you. But I just want for you to understand the org chart as it relates to, even though you have a liaison, the org chart as it relates to the town council and as it relates to the chief of police and the town manager, it's the town council that you report to. However, what we've put in place, having a liaison to take care of small issues. If it's an immediate thing, they will probably contact you immediately. If it's not an immediate thing, they'll probably run it through the liaison. I just want you to understand because, back in November, I realized it was a problem having an elected official as the person that you report to. But if you have a group of elected officials, and the same thing goes for directives. The good thing which protects you as far as directive is, Tracy Ann can't just call you up and say, hey, you need to post someone down here on this street between 9 and 5. It has to be a council decision that gives you a directive. So it protects you from receiving ad hoc directives and make sure that whatever you're receiving comes from, the majority of the council and the mayor. Correct me if I'm wrong, please.
I'm all on board with that.
That is a
Understood.
structure I'm trying to put together.
Good. Thank you.
And on that note, hold on, Bob, and on that note, I'd like to introduce you to the Police Department liaison, Chris Morris.
May I ask a question on that? What are you, he's the liaison from you to me. What is my role with him as far as passing information? Do I pass everything to Councilman Morris? Do I pass everything to the whole council? I just need to know there's day-to-day things that I need to run by people before I do something.
Yeah, I'm assuming most of the non-critical things would go through Chris, and the information would be, of course, he would be the conduit for all the information. Any type of emergency where you need immediate, I'm assuming that I would be the head for the council, in which you get it to me and I'd distribute it out. Council feel?
Are you just talking about, you want to send a text that XYZ is going on, or are you talking policy or?
All the above. So the reason why I'm asking is there's always been one point of contact for me, and that point of contact made the decision. Unless it needed to be a council decision, then it was called around. But there's all kinds of things that I am going to be bringing up.
Can't serve more than one master, really.
Yeah.
But here, I guess this would be the question for Chris. As the liaison, do you want to handle all communication, or if it's easier for him to send out a text or an email to everybody that says, on Thursday we're going to have a walk, or, we're going to have a water balloon fight or whatever, but the policy / questions / what are we going to do, funding, I guess what's easier for you, or what would you prefer? Because I can live with it anyway.
I think between the chief and I, we'll determine when it needs to go up.
Yeah, that works for me.
Understood.
Notwithstanding that, one of the things I really like what the chief has started doing is if there are activities of a criminal nature in certain communities, he would reach out personally to the council members who live in those communities and just to give them a heads up. And I think that has been very good for us so that we know what's going on when residents ask us what's happening in the community. So just keep doing that.
Okay.
Is this on the same subject?
No.
Okay. Are we done with that subject?
I'm thinking about that, and I like the idea of the liaison and the conduit, things going through, but I also like to be informed on a regular basis what's happening. So does that mean the liaison will notify everybody what's happening? Okay, fine. I'm fine with that.
So if you don't know,
I blame you.
blame Chris.
I do have a quick
Same
question.
subject?
Yes,
How are
ma'am.
you communicating with residents that aren't members of an HOA?
Facebook is where I do all the communication.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
awesome, thank you.
Just before you get to that, because you were talking about, I'm sorry, Bob, but you're talking about communication, and one of the things you might want to talk about is your communication idea and plan, because it's not just Facebook. I don't personally use Facebook, but we've got other ways of communicating, whether it be the website, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, texting. I have to tell you, I haven't seen a lot of texts in a long time. And I know we have a number that people can sign up for. So I think some kind of a coordinated communications plan is probably going to be helpful to try to get as much exposure as possible to get the message out, whether it be the PD or whether it be the staff.
Understood. I also think that the text messaging is underutilized, and that's something that I could pass on to Chris or Emily to put out if someone has to deem that, necessary. That would be up to you guys, I guess.
As you know, Joe, I've started a communications plan. I've asked some of the residents to start to look into that. It's in its infancy, though, so it's something we can't really present yet, but hopefully we can start to get a group together engaged with the staff to actually understand how they operate and how we should communicate. And that would include you as well, Chief.
Sure, we'll comply whenever it's put out.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob.
Are we pretty much done?
No, Bob had his hand up.
Well, I know, but I mean, with that topic?
good.
Okay, Bob, it's all yours now. I didn't want to, because you were going to segue on another topic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be real quick, though. Congratulations on being Chris's problem, and not mine. Just a suggestion with respect to your CAB meetings, based on the experience in the county, and I'm not going to make any assertions with regard to who was right, who was wrong, or if anything untoward happened. But if you're going to have those CAB meetings, would you kindly post them as, or have them posted on the town website as public gatherings and leave them open to the public just in case three of us wander into the room at any point in time?
Sure.
Does that mean they will be recorded?
It's more an effort to ensure that we stay out of trouble.
I understand that, but with that, do we then have to record it, Mr. Attorney?
Mayor, if you have three members of the council present and they're discussing public business, then it needs to be advertised as a meeting, and minutes need to be taken. It doesn't have to be recorded, but minutes have to be taken, which could be very simply that there were three members of council present during a CAB meeting, and they participated in the discussion and the story, because there are no actions, no votes could be taken.
Yeah.
There are only three members present anyway. But the safer courses of action are either, and this is a lot of work, so I don't recommend it, advertise all the CAB meetings as potential council meetings if you think the three council members are. Like I say, I don't recommend that. And the other is simply, if you have three council members show up, don't have them participate.
Can you have that?
Yes?
Well,
I thought as long as you're there present.
It's about the participation in the discussion. There was a case from the Eastern Shore where there was a citizens committee that got together and had a discussion. Council members attended, but they didn't really make any substantive remarks, and the judge ruled that that was not an illegal meeting. But that's about as close as you want to get to that problem. So the best thing to do is just to come and listen, talk to people one-on-one, but not participate in the group discussion.
I think
The only reason I bring this up is because this is going to be subject of litigation or civil
Something
action.
that happened at the county.
In the county, so I just want to avoid us falling into that.
Right. No, that's wise.
smart.
That's wise. But I thought that just even three of us outside, I thought you couldn't even have that.
Can I ask Kevin, so those meetings, I mean, they are going to be open, right?
Sure.
And you're going to probably have some kind of structure to it and probably have minutes, or no? Or is that not?
I wasn't planning on it, just more of an informal, because we're not the county, right? The county has a huge, board with all kinds of people. This is for me, it was mostly just to open a conversation between, and honestly, we do it on a daily basis anyway.
Right.
So this is mostly just a conversation for these leaders of the HOA and the faith leaders and the community activists, just to talk to the police department. And again, if a council member feels they need to be there, okay, but I think the purpose of this is for the residents to be able to speak directly with the police department.
I think my issue is this, and Martin, correct me if I'm wrong. It's not that, I guess it's having it structured as a board, quote unquote. If you're just going to have a community meeting where, once a month you open the door, or
I could
once
call
a
it
quarter.
coffee with the chief if
Coffee
you'd
with the
rather.
chief, that's a different story, but when you start throwing words like board, and, you know, you're insinuating that there's some sort of organized structure, and you're inviting people, and
Right.
there are members, you know, and,
No
yeah,
members.
that's where.
Yes, yeah, I wasn't trying to structure
you and me.
like the county, where they have members and they're appointed. That's not my vision. That's why I never called it a board. I called it a community advisory group. And I can call it a coffee with the chief, I call whatever you want, just something to open up communication. And when I say that, I mean, we already have open communication. I mean, we're doing business checks every day. Our businesses can contact me anytime, and they do. This is more of
In that case,
one of the police reforms.
In
we
that case,
put in.
even the less structured, the better, in my view. And if you're going to have coffee with the chief, please have it in town so we can collect the meals tax.
Okay, I just had one quick point. We probably ought to mark this on the calendar. The first time in 3 years I've agreed with Mr. Weir on just about anything. So maybe this is a breakthrough here. But
first night.
I agree with what he's saying. But Chief, I'm not in favor of you having to do minutes for those. Those are just meetings, you know, coffee with the chief. Because I believe that if something is important comes out of that, you will get that information back to us. So I'm not in favor of you just automatically taking minutes unless it's something that needs to come here. So with that, I'm done.
Okay. Did you have something, Joe?
No, I think that's great. It's just an extension of your community policing.
That's all it is.
That's fine. I was just looking for clarification on the structure.
Oftentimes, the HOAs have such short meetings that they don't really invite right away the police chief, because I don't need to be there each one. This is kind of just something for the heads of each community to just be able to tell me the concerns that you and your residents have.
And I just mark it at 2 hours and 16 minutes that Steve agreed with Bob, so,
Good job.
for the record.
Date stamp it.
Going to be one of those meetings, huh?
And a point of
Okay.
information for you, Chris, the board can gather together socially, because we legally, they can, we've done it before for parties, like holiday parties and stuff, as long as business isn't discussed. So, you know, we could have the whole board attend this, as long as, you know, we're not there discussing business, and we're not there as a group. Typically, you know, we're just individuals showing up as a citizen. So,
I was
legally.
educated before. I just thought we couldn't be there in more than three or more.
We just can't discuss town business.
yeah, no town business can be discussed. Okay, any more questions for the chief? Okay, we're good.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
chief. Okay, what are we on, treasurer?
Treasurer.
Good evening, council. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I know this is a lot of information in this packet, but I was trying to prepare you as much as I can. But obviously, in the coming months, we'll definitely be discussing more on the budget and on the ongoings and what's going on. Councilman Ware had asked me if I could provide some front-loaded expenses that we are going to have. I've given you a list here. The only thing I want to make a note is on the Republic Service, there is a quarterly charge for the Parks of Piedmont in there that's made once every 3 months. We have certain parcels that fall within the Parks of Piedmont that already have an HOA that collect their trash service. In fact, this year, with the assistance of our town manager, Chris Kuhn, we were able to actually create in our town attorney, create a contract, an agreement, because when I started, I couldn't find an agreement as how this was set for the town. So that's why that 7,802.18 seems pretty high. If you were to do the math by 12, it will be a lot more than what we budgeted, but that's because it does include an amount of $374.14 that's paid every 3 months. Some of these expenses are at the beginning. One of the bigger ones at the beginning. One of the bigger ones, of course, is the debt obligation bond. The first one in August that is due is mainly principal and interest. We will have another one in February, but by then we should be collecting some of our major revenue sources as real estate, along with the monthlies. I also wanted to give you a breakdown as to the adopted budget in this report. I also included the one that was amended on the June 8th meeting. I am not sure, I don't want to speak without, giving you too much information unless there's something you guys really specifically want to discuss. I did try to include the breakdown as far as a debt obligation, how it works, and what the payments are expected from the town, as well as the police department vehicles. There's also a matter of a Laney detail that I believe is on we'll discuss that later with the town attorney, town manager. At this time, I'd like to answer any questions, specific questions that you may have. I know that's a lot to digest, but once again, just trying to prepare you and give you as much as I can in this first meeting.
Can I start?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you, Robert. Couple clarifications. From the meals tax, that goes up to the end of May. So we're 100.2% over right now, not included in June.
That is correct. And there is one business that has not submitted.
For
They
May.
officially, for May. They officially have accrued the penalties and we'll be assessing once they file the paperwork. But yes, this
Good.
is everyone in there minus that one business for May, up to May.
Good job. Good job. 3130-05, other planning and permits. I see it at 127%. Is this a pass-through?
Some of these are pass-throughs, some of these are pass-throughs, and some are items that we budgeted that we cannot pass through to the builder or developer. There's just some normal occurrences that the town will need to do. If you wanted more specifics, I could break it down. I just didn't do so in this report, but I could.
Well, I just assumed it's pass-through, and I just wanted clarification. On page 3, 121-1009, unemployment insurance, 154% more than what we budgeted for.
So that occurred due to the fact that we had so much changeover, and every time it starts, there's a cap of the unemployment up to 8,000 of wages. But every time we hired a new person, that reset, so we had to make payments on that as well. So that is why that has gone over.
And we're
With the
keeping
addition,
that.
with the addition of sorry, Councilman, the addition of 2 employees that we had not budgeted last year for, that be the clerk, and it also would be the new town manager.
Okay.
So Chris, if I may, so that's a function of turnover, you're saying? Did I hear that right? It's a function of turnover? Okay.
Yes, sir.
And so we're budgeting for 2021, we're keeping the same amounts for the new budget?
Correct.
Okay. So is that the same thing with the PD, salaries and wages part-time, which is up 200.8%? I'm sorry, this is 311005.
And you're talking about the May on the report, correct? Or the one that I handed you? I believe, because I apologize, I did give you 2. One that went up to June.
This one is to June.
Okay.
So it's at 40,155 and our budget is 20,000.
Correct. That the chief could probably speak on more, but I know they had to there was a period where we had a turnover on officers that in order to get those coverages, I believe the part-time officers had to pick up some of those shifts. But if you want more specifics, that is definitely something the chief could answer. But I do know that is where that also happened, was with the turnover of the new officers.
And I see Laney here, so this is not the Laney pass-through.
So this is the Laney pass-through. Unfortunately, with the last council meeting of the old council, prior council, we didn't have quorum to vote. So that was one of my amendments, appropriations that I had publicized, but we could not meet the deadline.
Understand. My question is, the Laney pass-through has nothing to do with this part-time salary wage up 200%.
No, sir, it does not.
Chief?
Yes, sir. We had a period last year where we were down an officer, and during that time, we brought the part-timer, Officer Anderson, we worked him up to the limit where he could work without being qualified for health insurance, and he didn't want health insurance anyway. But all those salaries or hours went into the part-time budget because he was technically still a part-time officer. So I think you'll find the equivalent savings in the salaries, regular salaries line item. But that's why the budget went up, because he was working outside of the allotted part-time hours, because he was now filling in for a full-time vacant slot.
Right, I see your salaries here saving $50,000 because you're at 88.4%.
Correct, and
So-
you see that it was only 20,000 expended in the other side, and that's also a difference in the amount of hourly rate that part-time officer gets.
Is that correlated to the unemployment insurance? That's up 187%? It's budgeted 2,180? And
So,
is
so that, sorry, I can answer that. Once again, also with the turnover that they had, that also caused that to be greater.
One last thing, it's 3110047, donation expenditure. We budgeted 3,000, and it's at 315%, 9,400.
So that is another part of the amendment appropriation that I had prepared. It was part of it that was going to amend that to increase what he had collected.
Okay.
That was not able to be done as well. So there was 3 amendments that were specifically for the PD budget that we were trying to correct. But since we did not have the voting capability, it was not done.
Okay, thank you. For the rest of the council, I do want to pass some information on. When I came on board in 2014 and reviewed the legal services, right now it's at 64,600, and we're missing the month of June. And we're budgeted at 73,000. But I just wanted to give you the numbers just for you to understand what has been happening since 2014. Fiscal year 2014, our amount was $110,000. 2015, $140,000. 2016, $138,000. 17, $82,000. Fiscal year 2018, $48,900. Fiscal year 2019, $59,000, and right now we're sitting at $64,000. And that's why I raised the topic earlier of just being cautious that we're not getting all the way back up to our highest amount, which was $140,000 with attorney fees. I think we have done really good, especially with the procedures that the town manager has put in place in contacting the town attorney. And he has such wealth of information that you're never going to stump him. You can ask him 10 different questions from 10 different angles. He's going to have the answer for you. I think we should just continue in the direction that we're going as far as running things through the town manager. But this is impressive where we've come in the last 6 years. Thank you. Thanks for your answers, Roberto.
You're welcome.
No, sir. Bob?
I see further on that we're going to be dealing with the budget amendment for the Laney detail, and I'm not a real big fan of every month running an advertisement at some expenditure every time we cross the 1% threshold. And I suspect that quite a number of people sitting behind this dais are not really happy with the way that certain revenue and expenditure items are set up in the budget this year, which leads me to the question: the Laney detail funding was a known amount of money that was coming in the door when the 21 budget was put together, so why isn't it in the 21 budget? I don't really care to hear the answer. I'm just giving my reasoning here. So what I would like to do, given things like the Laney detail and what other issues people are going to have with the currently adopted budget, is for the rest of the council members to forward suggestions of what they see as underfunding or overfunding, or unrealistic revenue streams coming in, and get them to Joe and myself to work with the treasurer's office and put together a package for the July work session where we can advertise one whole slate of budget amendments potentially. I mean, it may come down to nothing's possible and we just stuck re-advertising the Laney detail. But clear it all up at one time rather than this monthly game of moving the pegs around and doing that sort of thing, which, I mean, I understand we have to do it occasionally, but I think if we're going to have to make some significant significant changes to the budget, because I don't think anybody in here thinks that we've got enough budgeted to take care of the park right now. And if the emphasis of some of us is getting the streetscape done in some fashion, or at least moved forward, we're going to have to move some funds around. So what I would suggest is, without hitting the reserves, is for everybody to get their suggestions to Roberto, to Joe, to myself. Let us kind of hash this out for the next couple of weeks, and try and make it one budget amendment package where we're just, we're not reinventing the wheel every month and spending for a half page or a quarter page in the Prince William Times. I do have two questions for you and one question for the planner. On the adopted budget, the very end, this always throws me, but total 94,107 blight mitigation, I'm assuming there's something wrong in those last four lines, unless I'm misinterpreting it, because they don't add up. You go 94,107 and then 94,108, and then 94,107 again.
What packet page were you on?
B3A, packet page 14.
Councilman Ware, you're correct. That should read, that is a Excel mistake of mine. I did a copy and paste on the total line for blight mitigation. It should actually read total for the CIP fund expense.
And change the number to 9108? Okay, I thought that was the case.
Yes, sir.
I
I apologize for that.
No, it just confused me for a minute. I thought that was the case. And the total expenditures front-end loaded for July 1 through August 1 is $227,000 and some change, plus whatever we have in ordinary operating costs, which would be roughly on a monthly basis.
On a monthly basis,
Just ballpark it.
be about between 75 to 80.
So we're looking at $300,000 between now. Okay, all right. And then one of the things that I'm going to suggest, and perhaps Emily can give us a little bit of information on this, is at some point in time we need to get that last phase of that streetscape going in front of the park. Do we have, at this point in time, any estimates on hand, any preliminary engineering already done? Is the work still sitting there from the original engineering? Is it,
For the sidewalk portion in front of the park.
to connect from Blight Drive to the church?
So it would be exactly where it was left off in 2016, 2017 timeframe.
So the engineering is done, it's merely I think.
I will have to verify, but I think it is pretty much all done. It just needs to be put into action.
There's no way we can complete that in a single fiscal year, so we'd have to break it up into 2 years.
Correct.
Okay. That's all I got. Actually, one more thing, sorry. Soda Bank, Fauquier Bank, where do we stand on that?
So that discussion has been brought up by you. We can look into it. I'm going to look into if we're moving. Currently, for everyone, all the rest of the council, currently we bank with Sona Bank. As of June 15th, they have left the town. Councilman Ware had suggested that maybe looking into going back to Fauquier in order to collect a bank franchise tax. As you can see, this year we did collect more than what we budgeted. So that is something that now that they are gone, they will have to pay us up till June, so at least 6 months worth of bank stocks for this coming fiscal year. But I did remove it totally with just the exception of receiving Fauquier. So that is something that the town manager and I will look into, how much more it will benefit the town to move the money over to Fauquier Bank. And that is meaning the town as the general checking and operational funds.
Before I start, I think, Chris.
Yeah. You're on a different subject?
No, yeah, but go ahead with Chris.
Okay, Chris?
Yes, so I just wanted to speak to Councilman Ware's question in regards to the budget amendment. Staff is right along with you, and instead of doing it on a monthly basis, I don't think that's realistic. And in fact, when we get to this item, I was going to bring it up, I think it'd be advantageous for us to get the thumbs up to advertise, and then what we would end up doing is advertising in September for that first quarter, that October meeting. So we'd have the end of September to discuss it. In October, we would act, and this way it gives you all more than 27 days to review the budget. Because, for example, our agenda will go out when we receive the June meals tax. So that's just one thing that if you all wanted additional time, I think that first quarter would be advantageous for us to make all of those moves. And like you said, we're already going to meet the 1% threshold with the Laney detail, and in this way you all can get additional information and make those edits.
Well, then, do you really want to publish the Laney detail now, or do you just want to defer it and create the publication at a later date for everything else, rather than having
Correct.
two separate motions?
Well, we could do it that way, but this is also to allow the police department the knowledge that they can continue to move forward with the overtime. That's why it was brought up today.
Okay.
But you are correct. If it was another matter, I would have brought it up at the September work session for the October meeting. So I just want to address that.
I'd like to just second that too, that I agree. I'm doing monthly adjustments and amendments.
So you
I'd
want-
rather avoid doing it and just doing it like quarterly, as Chris has stated.
So you want to publish it for the September meeting?
September work session for the take action in October. Yes, sir.
I'm all on board with that.
So is there anything that needs to be moved then for this announcement?
Well, so we're still on Roberto's treasurer report right now. It was just, when he brought it up, I just wanted to make sure that we touch base before we get too far down the rabbit hole, that was our intent.
Okay.
It just, it came up before we met for the.
Well, in that
agenda.
case, can we just issue a directive without
No objection.
without objection that the town manager and the treasurer publish a budget amendment with respect to the Laney detail for the September work session and October
Action.
action?
Works for me.
Now we don't have to deal with that.
Okay, and you had a question, Jeff?
Yeah, I have a bunch of questions, but I think what we'll do is I'll pass on it tonight, and we'll discuss it at the work session. Any additional questions I may have about this year's budget, so.
Okay, anybody else on the budget?
Oh, I'd just like to mention that my office is always open, so if any of the council does wish to discuss any of the current budget, I'm more than happy to try to answer those questions.
Okay. Where does that leave us? Town planner report.
Good evening, congratulations again on your election. So on packet page, sorry, 1 second. On packet page 30, you'll find my staff report. So typically each month what I do is I prepare a Excel spreadsheet of the current and ongoing projects for each of the boards, as well as other staff projects and then county reviews that we have. So this past month for the ARB, we had several smaller applications for residential homes, as well as one commercial sign application. These are detailed here. I typically don't take an application completely off of my spreadsheet until it's complete. So you'll see in bolded text that I provide updates as they come in. So I do leave projects on here just so that you know it kind of keeps a running tally, but happy to change it if you guys have other suggestions. So the ARB also is working on assisting the Planning Commission with a historic resources chapter in the comp plan. That's something we can maybe discuss later with the Planning Commission liaison and have a new council directive regarding a comp plan update. But we did want some input there from the ARB. The ARB also approved their bylaws in the June 2020 meeting. And then with Planning Commission, I have some outstanding applications here that I just gave status reports on where they're at. Mariah's Wine Tasting Room has submitted their as-builts. So currently the engineer and myself are reviewing these and plan to get feedback to them this coming week or the next. Crossroads Village is currently on hold and has been since the March 2nd Town Council meeting. That was the last time we spoke with them. They approached the council and requested additional residential homes and what that would look like if the council were to pursue that avenue. Again, that's in the recording in the minutes for anybody, or I can provide additional information there. Van Meter, right there at 14850, 14860 near the vet clinic on Washington Street. They will be submitting their site plan. They have submitted a boundary line adjustment for review as of Thursday of last week. The QBE application, that came up at Monday night's meeting on the 29th. There were 2 SUP applications and a proffer amendment. One of the SUP applications for the drive-through use was withdrawn at the beginning of the meeting there. We heard public comment for several hours that evening, and then it was postponed. The decision was postponed to have the applicant come back to a planning commission meeting on July 20th and discuss further with staff and the commission our outstanding concerns. I will give you an update tomorrow at 3 p.m. I have a meeting with the applicant. So I do believe we've invited the Planning Commission chairman and the Planning Commission liaison to attend the meeting as well, so that we can all share feedback.
Man, you just got nominated.
Tomorrow at 3 p.m. We can talk further.
Boy, that was quick. Okay.
So we, that will be going on tomorrow for the applicant to share with us what they've been working on this past week, and we can be on the same page of what we expect for the 20th in regards to additional information. For the comprehensive plan, this is something that we were trying to begin working with the Planning Commission on prior to COVID. Once things shut down, we did not have continued meetings, so I would be looking to council and specifically the liaison for some assistance on a directive, as well as assistance on our next steps forward. I know that in speaking with Councilman Weir prior to tonight that there are some updates and some drafts already there, things we can just find on our server and hopefully relocate and look at that again. And then we had Prince William County 1 mile review. That's for 2 hotels located at 55 in Antioch. The town has prepared those comments, and I will keep everybody updated on that status as things change. I'm happy to send emails if that's of interest. And then for other staff items, this is usually where I put zoning violations or blight issues that we've come across and we're trying to take care of. So one thing here that we talked at our orientation about is the house at 14881 Washington Street. Also, we typically call it the Pardo House. I have provided on the next page a proposed blight mitigation letter to go out. I'm hoping that tonight the council will give a directive for me to publicly notice or publicly post the property, to include putting 2 notices in the local paper for 2 consecutive weeks. After that, meeting those requirements, we're able to take further action and develop a plan if the property owner does not respond to us. So that's something we can talk about in a moment. Also tonight we have here a Prince William County representative to discuss the planned project at Route 15 and the railroad tracks in hopes of the council's support of the resolution. So we also have that. And then last but not least, the checklist and forms. I apologize I was not able to get to those last week. I do have some plans for what we can do moving forward. I would like to implement a checklist for every single application that comes in the door to include a signature line of the applicant signing. They understand the appropriate review times, and they understand that we as staff will first verify that the application is complete, and if it is not complete, we will return it to them. So some of those kind of checks and balances there so that we can continue to treat all applications in a fair and equal manner. And then I also have things about events to talk about, but we can start with planning and zoning first.
Miss- Okay, so we'll start with the last thing, the checklist.
Okay?
One thing that we were lucky to get that hasn't disappeared is Resolution 0503-2010-1, and that's the requirements for submission of land use applications. So I thought we would be talking about this earlier, but are you guys all familiar with that, number one? And if you're not, we got it from Martin. And
A copy was provided late last week. Yes, sir.
okay, good. So you'll have an opportunity to review that, to look at the process, and that should tie into, I would think, your checklist to make sure that it's consistent, the whole process and policy.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. All right, and you have that. Great. I think as far as the comp plan goes, I think we need to accelerate that as much as possible. We were talking at the orientation and in other places about priorities. What are our priorities? We don't want to bite off too much at once. We want to be able to maybe do 2, 3, maybe 4 things right out of the box. And I think the comp plan is a priority. I'll leave it open to others to discuss, but that is our roadmap for the town. And I think everything goes back to the comp plan. So if it were me, I would suggest that we move forward with that expeditiously.
I agree.
So relative to, I put my glasses on again, Williams Holdings.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
is that property up for sale? Because I thought I saw it up for sale.
That is correct. So back in 2019, early springtime, the applicant came in for a special use permit for 7 residential townhomes. Those would be situated above 1 story of first floor retail in the front. That was approved, and there's no site plan that's been submitted. She did post the properties for sale to include the special use permit.
Okay, all righty. And we know nothing else after that.
That is correct.
Okay. And then the last thing is this Haymarket Venture LLC. I'm not sure what's going on with that. I mean, can you expound on that a little bit?
Yes, I can. As of today, I received our next round of comments back from the town attorney's office, so I'll review those tomorrow with the town manager, and we will send that out to the applicant. That is for the deeds and the plat for the property. And then we also, on our, one quick aside, Prince William County is our building official.
Right.
Each month I receive a building permit log so I can check the status of all of our permits. On that log, it states that this project is still pending, so I know they're still pending there at the county to receive their final permits. They do expect to have that wrapped up in August. Once that's done, we plan to have a meeting here to do kind of a pre-construction meeting with the applicant, understand, who's on site and how things are going to go forward. Also introduce them to our E&S inspector, so forth and so on. So that's currently where we stand, is we're wrapping up some of these final items.
Okay. And this would go back to the budget. So I noticed in the 21 budget, $15,000 for building official. So how does that relate? If the county is now basically our building official, what is that money for? Communication.
The 15,000 is a number, a placeholder we put for E&S inspections, erosion and sediment, that are actually pass-throughs. So every time those inspections are done, I do forward the invoice over to the developer.
Got it. Thank you. Done.
Thank you. The checklist and forms, is there any way that as you're pursuing, putting it in place, it would include anything that we're currently dealing with.
In what regards?
So QBE was the last thing that was on the agenda. Can we safely say they met all the checklist items?
No.
So could we start with them? Because one of the things I was uncomfortable with was the date it was submitted, the way it was submitted, who submitted it, and the appearance of how it was pushed through for 20 days. And the comments that I received back speaking with the owners of the property appeared as if it was all in line with what was expected to have a normal submission.
Since that application was already heard at one meeting, I would defer to our legal here on just asking if that's something we can go back and retroactively ask them to submit new applications with new checklists.
Because my question is, how is it that if it does not meet the criteria, the basic criteria, how then can we demand of our planning commission to hear it if some of the items are outstanding?
Good question.
Very good question.
Don't say
Yeah.
anything.
So, sorry to interrupt, but to add on to that, yeah, what state did this end up at? It wasn't tabled.
It was
It
tabled
was-
for the July 20th PC meeting.
But, you know, they were tabling something that was incomplete to begin with, so.
But that's
the clock
why
was
I'm
not
bringing it
even
up, Mr.
ticking,
Mayor.
right?
But that's the reason I'm bringing it up, because right now, as it stands, we are still pushing forward in bringing an incomplete application. If that's the case, we are still pushing forward in bringing an incomplete application to the Planning Commission, and we may be giving false hope to the applicants.
Yes, sir.
So my question is, from a legal standpoint, could we, as we put the checklist in place, could we use QBE and any other that's on the list to go on the checklist? And I think it would help us on council to know what things are deficient.
Can I just interject quickly? Asking it another way is, when does the clock start? In other words, when is it accepted in the town based on that checklist and process? When does the statutory clock start for that project review?
Before you go, lo though I walk through the valley of shadow of death, my suspicion is the town's legal counsel is going to tell us that doing that would be a very, very, very bad idea and a risky one. And I quite likely concur. I guess the greater question is this. This resolution was never revoked and has always been in place. It just seems that some staff were aware of it and some were not, and some council members were aware of it and some were not. And it's sort of laid in the dustbin with nobody paying attention to it since, well, I can tell you since 2015, when I resigned from the Planning Commission, because in 2015, I still signed off on this stuff. My suspicion is we were about to be told that we can't apply this standard to applications that have already been accepted, and I can understand why, and I'd rather not go through the legal hassle that I suspect will be an issue. That being said, I would be of a mind to move readoption of Resolution 0503-2010-1 tonight to preclude any further issues, and then, if that were acceptable, direct staff to come forth with any tweaks that they would want in it at some future meeting. Sorry for stepping on you.
Just to clarify, this was in an email from Martin.
Okay.
because we asked for a number of documents, so it was sometime about a week ago, I think.
I didn't open it because I didn't know if we were going to get charged by.
So, but I have a question. How do we readopt something that's already effective?
You just reaffirm it?
I believe you could reaffirm it.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, it's semantics.
And the answer to my question, is it possible to?
So I think we can get there a different way by looking at the proposal and evaluating it from a land use perspective, which the land use policy addresses, and through that, get the information that the Planning Commission needs to evaluate this properly. I think it's already been accepted for processing, so it would be inadvisable to reject it and reverse ourselves on that basis.
Okay.
But the information that's required for a land use application
Thank you.
still remains what it is, and the Planning Commission can look at that document and say, this is what we really need to have in order to do a proper evaluation of this. So you're going to get us this information or not, Mr. Applicant?
But in order not to hold up the applicants, their process, is it possible to send them, or maybe, Emily, that's what you're going to be talking to them about tomorrow, is to include and to send them documentation to let them know what are the things that are deficient in their application. And okay, so the reason why I'm pushing this so hard is at the end of our meeting, the long meeting last week, I went and spoke with the applicants. And I purposely did not talk to them before leading up to the meeting, just because I just didn't want to recluse myself for speaking with them before the application was heard. So when I asked them about the process, both their comments, Mr. Laurie and Sean, both their comments to me was geared at you, Emily, that you all along was giving them the thumbs up and telling them that things were going right. And then for me to hear from the dais that they were missing items from the application. So that was their comment to me, that they were saying to me concerning a staff member. So if we had all of this in place, if we had these checklists in place, you would have the authority and the backing of the council to push it back to say, nope, you submitted it by the hands of a council member on June 1st. You're not going to get a hearing on June 29th until you have A, B, C, D, E, F, and all those 62 points that you highlighted answered.
Corrected. June 9th, when I was able to, have one day to review and provide comments back, I stated in my review and comments that the application was incomplete. We had a meeting that week, and at no point did we decide that the application was complete. I continued to stress that more information was needed, and I was told by the applicant on several occasions that they've met the minimum requirements for the application, and so they did not look to provide further information. So, that's part of the meeting tomorrow, is coming to that discussion of where we stand today and where we need to go. But no, at no point did I say the application was good to go.
The good thing in moving forward is that once this checklist is put in place, you're going to have the authority behind you of the entire town council to tell applicants that the application is incomplete. How we work around going forward with this application is something that us as a council and you as a staff will need to navigate. But I do have the concern of it being pushed to the planning commission having incomplete items.
Yeah, well, my question here, though, is this was pushed to the town planning commission to review, and they have the right to review the packet and say that it's incomplete, correct?
Yes.
I think there was something
now
more.
the question is, they tabled the review, so we still have not accepted this package. Is that correct?
No.
Martin?
I think at the point where it's been presented to the Planning Commission, it's already been accepted.
You've already had a public hearing on it, so.
And the Planning Commission has 100 days to act from the first day of the public hearing. So they have time to request additional information, and if they don't get that, then they can make a recommendation for denial.
So, could I ask a question, Mr. Mayor? So if, Emily, you as a town planner, if you, after meeting with him, if you do not feel that SUP is completed, then we shouldn't have it on the next planning commission meeting. Is that correct? I mean, if it's not ready to be reviewed, why do we put it before the committee?
So
Planning commission, rather.
unfortunately, the time has already started. So just like the attorney mentioned, that there's 100 days.
They got
to
100
review.
days, and they submitted it June
First.
1st.
So the planning commission, though, accepted it and heard at the June 29th meeting. So at this point, it would be more advantageous to continue to have the staff meetings like we have been having, and then have planning commission be able to review it. So this way, if it's not enough information due to the planning commission, then they can come back at least one additional month prior to that recommendation for denial. And I also just wanted to mention that what Emily just said, I was involved in the majority, if not all, the meetings, and everything that she said, I just wanted to back her up on, that we never gave them approval or thumbs up in any way, shape, or form that it was ready to go forward, or ready for prime time. So
Don't use that word, that's Bob's word, don't use it.
So if it's not, so it has to come before the planning commission now. Okay.
that would
and-
be
and-
my recommendation, so that we
Okay.
can continue to get the back and forth with the applicant and the planning
And,
commission.
and then, so Matt Caudle and the commission, the planning commission will, if they're not satisfied with that, they will say, thank you, you need to, it's not completed.
Correct.
Okay.
And how did the proffers fall within all of this?
Do you really want us to talk about proffers? The planning commission can, at this point, please correct me if I'm wrong, it's already been referred to them, it's already had a public hearing. I'll question the validity of the planning commission's public hearing. But it's now an action item. Can they say it's incomplete, take it back and start from ground zero? No. Can they say it's incomplete and we recommend the town council not approve it in its current form? Yes. It's, the train's left the station, now it's, what do you do with the train? Which track are you going to send it down? Is there time for it to be brought into concordance? Obviously. Is there time for it to not, to fail on its own merits? Obviously. It's going to be dependent on what the applicant desires to do and what position the planning commission takes on the 20th, and, how quickly any issues are rectified or not rectified. But at this point, simply sending it back is not an option, is my understanding. Now, I'm a little irritated that we have a policy that's been in place for a decade, that nobody knew about and nobody's following. So I would, even though it's not an agenda item, I think as part of this discussion, I would suggest, or I would move that we reaffirm the requirements for submission of land use applications,
The big
simply to
thing
make
is-
sure it doesn't happen again.
To kind of interrupt here, though, the big thing is, one of the biggest drivers of this knew this existed. They approved it.
If you're speaking to the former mayor, yes, he signed it.
Exactly. So are we looking at a big mockery just to trying to make sure that this gets by-stepped?
No. It is what it is at this point in time, so you have to deal with it with the tools that you have available, and
And reaffirming is the best tool that we have right now.
that was, my suggestion would be to move that, and in fact, I'll move that reaffirmation.
And I will second if it's on the table.
You got a question?
Nope.
I just
just
first
agree
demand,
in.
I just get here.
You got everything?
Can we move on to another topic?
Yeah.
You want to vote? Yeah.
Can we put a motion up for that in the middle of?
Without
Okay,
objection.
as a
He did?
parliamentary.
He seconded?
Parliamentary. Okay, yeah, so we got a motion and a second then? Just, I guess, asking the clerk at this point, do we got a motion and a second on the table already?
I'm sorry, battery's dying.
Yes.
Mr. Ware made the motion and Councilman Morris made the second, right?
Yes.
Okay, do we need discussion? Nope. Okay, we put it up for a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
now, continuing my other questions. I had two more, real quick ones. The boundary adjustment for Van Meter, is that a consolidation, subdivision? What are we dealing with here?
That is a little bit of both. So they're looking to do the front right parcel, make that for the school specifically, and plot that out.
Okay. Okay, cool.
I'll scan all the documents in, and as the new planning commission liaison, I'll send them over.
Okay. And I just have a comment about the comp plan. That thing was ready to go 5 years ago. I'm the one that held it up.
Why?
We held it up pending the final determination of where the Amazon lines were going to go. Was it going to go through the C1 district down by the creek, or was it going to go down I-66? Because until that decision was made, there was some thought that the C1 district could be used in conjunction with the county to prevent them from going down through the, using the proposed railroad alignment. Shortly after I resigned, that issue became moot when the FCC designated the I-66. There is a comp plan that I don't know if it's still acceptable, but 5 years ago it was ready to go. It was in the can and ready to go. And I probably got a copy of it somewhere, and I think Marchant has one as well. It's just a matter of, you have your server issues, I have mine. I'm going to go and find
The comp plan
one.
is in the hands of PC right now?
Correct.
Correct.
Maybe we need to task the PC liaison to get on it.
Well, maybe so, but that also leads to another discussion. Should we be pulling this comp plan out and handing it to professionals as opposed to volunteers?
That one was actually professionally done, if I recall.
Yeah, but still.
I wasn't happy with it, but it was professionally done by the Berkeley Group, I think.
Still, when was that done?
It was finished in 2015, I want to say.
Right. The comp plan has a 5-year life cycle.
Yeah, we can use it as a
So
basis, though.
we need to readdress it.
Yeah,
So-
we need to probably restart it, but at least we've got a starting point.
Do we need a directive for the PC liaison to take it and bring back a review of it for next
It's
meeting?
been sitting on their agenda for
Discussion.
5 years.
That's for discussion. Do you want to pull it from the PC and give it to the staff to work, or do you want to leave it with the PC? So, that's something I'd like you guys to
I remember
toss
we
around,
talked
figure
about this
out.
at the end of June, right? In June meeting? Sorry, in May meeting, we talked about giving a directive to the PC. You remember?
PC, we were working it. And then because of COVID, that stopped it, because we didn't have a meeting for 4 months or whatever.
I think.
So the last was that the PC was working it to get a final recommendation.
And I think that, we should start with the basis of the one that was done 5 years ago.
There we
Let's
go.
look at the planning commission, have them take a look at it. Let's get some of our citizens involved, hold a couple charrettes and have them give their input. We also have our census data that's going to come in this year, or I guess early next year. Let's try to see if we can in any way, shape, or form include that where necessary. And then if we see shortfalls or gaps where we need to hire out or have somebody do an audit or a review of it, then we take that step after a couple
It's a good idea.
months.
So in the next 30 days, what should be the directive? Who's taking it?
For the planning commission to effective immediately start working on it. What we previously did is the planning commission set a standing work session for every month, and it was just the 1 hour prior to their regular meeting. We tried assigning kind of a homework for them to do and bring back. Some meetings were a little bit better on the productivity scale, but we can get back to that.
So my suggestion is July 20th too early for the PC liaison to review it? And
No, that's fine.
that's what I'm driving at.
That's
That's a
fine.
directive. I mean, that the council may need to give to the PC liaison.
The problem I see immediately is this. If we rely on the 2015 draft, it's horribly outdated because of the changes in zoning and zoning designation throughout town in a variety of places. And a number of other things have changed. Historic structures are no longer there. I think we're going to have to start all over again. The question, what happens in the next several months is going to be interesting with respect to the currently adopted comp plan and potentially whatever comp plan we put out there for consideration and adoption at the end of the day. And I do not know the answer to this. But if we start dramatically changing the comp plan such that it impacts land use applications that are currently in process, I mean, that's something that on some level has an appeal to me, but on another level scares the hell out of me. And I would like to sit down and look at it and see what we've got in the older version, because quite frankly, I've forgotten a lot of it. I know we stripped out a lot of the information that had become
It's very much
stale.
outdated, you're right.
Yeah.
Very much outdated.
But I'll tell you what, I think with all the active land development applications that are in today, the old comp plan does not help them. Because if you look at the old comp plan, everything is rezoned agricultural, residential.
No, that was changed in 2008, I think. No, it's significantly different than you're thinking about a much older one.
I'm just looking
I
at-
will look into it.
I'm just
I
looking at the start point for us
Yeah,
to
I
walk
think-
away. Miss Emily?
I think,
I was just gonna maybe suggest maybe a 60-day, we can start in August at that meeting, and staff, so myself and town manager can just start going through this draft and do red line version, or really highlight where, like, this is an absolute rewrite completely, and then maybe that allows us on the planning commission to divide up task or set priorities at that August meeting.
yeah, I think doing anything in July would be, ambitious would be a kind word.
Okay.
10 days.
Just,
if you can
I'm just
have
looking
it.
at the start point. Start
I-
point is leaving here with a directive.
August.
August works for me.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
I have another point, sir. Miss Emily?
Yes, sir.
Crossroads Village Center. How long can an application like this remain dormant?
So they have their 5 years to see it through.
It's only 2.
And we haven't heard anything from them ever
We have
since.
not since the March meeting. We have not had any interest. They were sending other potential buyers to come talk to us and have separate meetings. There were proposals for 4 100-plus condo unit buildings. There were proposals for nursing homes, those things, but nobody's come back since.
Are they currently bonded?
They are not currently bonded.
You all set, Chris?
Yes, sir.
Just one other thing. Once you review the resolution we just reaffirmed, I would ask that that be brought over to the planning commission to make sure they're aware of it.
We will have that on the July 20th meeting.
Excellent.
I would like to
Well, that wasn't.
propose giving Emily the directive for the letter, the abatement plan required for 14881 Washington Street. Just for
Are we
her.
to that point in your report, Emily?
She mentioned it in her,
Yes.
yeah.
And it is on packet page 32. I do have one in the very first sentence, one typo. I need to fix the house number. There's a 9 in there that will be removed. And then I will publish it in next week's paper, so I will add the dates. It'll go in next week on Wednesday, and then it'll reappear, so that's the 15th. It'll come back on the 22nd in that paper as well.
Emily, can I ask you, what's, because you know I bring this up every meeting, what was the last communication we had with her?
The last communication we had was back in the April-May timeframe.
Okay.
And she was very disappointed to hear from me about the status of the house and asking her to button it up during the pandemic. So we had a bit of a discussion there, and we tried to give her a little bit of leeway with the pandemic, and we asked that she follow, once things opened back up, the date at the time was June 10th. We asked her, you know, within 7 days of June 10th, the 17th, please have this closed up and a plan presented to the town, and that was not ever done.
Yeah, and that's my point. It's been continuous. So
Yes.
I'm definitely personally in favor of this letter going out, you know, as soon as possible.
But
Just
she
my
was in
opinion.
favor, the communication before that, she was receptive to painting the roof.
Yes, so she was receptive to repainting the roof, no longer having it the cherry red color. That was fine with her. She always intended to continue to paint the house the same gray color, update the deck, have the white trim put back, but I think there's been some issues with some of her contractors that she's hired, so unfortunately, since November, we've had a series of discussions, and I maybe go as far as say excuses, so this is where we're at today.
So, Mr. Mayor, is the directive for her to go forward with this letter?
Yes.
So I know I'm in favor of it, so, okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If it is all right at this time, I would like to invite up Paolo, I don't know if I'm saying it right, to give the presentation for the railroad project.
And I thought he was a reporter.
Good evening, Council. My name is Paulo Belito. I'm with Prince William County Department of Transportation. Thank you for the time for allowing me to speak this evening. So the county is requesting a town endorsement to support to submit a smart scale application for the Route 15 overpass project. We'll pull up the concept here shortly. Just quick background: the smart scale program is a state evaluation process where the state looks at various transportation projects in the state and is then funded by the Commonwealth Transportation Board. So Route 15 project, this is actually going to be our third time submitting for smart scale. It's a $52 million project. We do have $11 million in existing federal funding, and we're requesting $41 million to fully fund the project. Good concept, Coach? So, like I mentioned, it's just an application. It's not fully funded. In terms of schedule, the smart scale funding would be available in FY 26 and 27. The funding we currently have becomes available in FY 22 and 23. So we wouldn't start design until 22 to 23 at the latest, and construction wouldn't begin until 26. And that's if the project is funded through the smart scale program. So the concept you have up there is a concept we have from 2018. It's the 4-lane widening of Route 15 from 2 to 4 lanes, includes overpass as well as a bike ped access on one of the bridges. So one of the things we discussed back in 2018 was access for Kent Valley Way. If the project is funded, we're going to continue to work with the town to ensure there's adequate access to any parcels that's adjacent to the town boundaries. That being said, I just want to open up to any specific questions about the application itself.
Is that, no, I'm sorry, go ahead, Joe, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
That would be me then, but anyway, go right ahead, Beauty first.
It's Paolo, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Thank you very much, Paolo. Do you know how many tracks they're reserving space for on that overpass?
Do not actually, but our overpass would ensure that, you know, we would work with Norfolk Southern or in a future
Good question.
tracks, but it's I'm not exactly sure.
I'm going to guess 3 and maybe 4, because we always grab for more than we can,
Correct.
than we need.
And And we'll work with the state and DRPT to make sure if we do move forward the project, we'll ensure adequate space for the tracks.
Okay, I was reading, is this our resolution that we have in the packet?
That is a draft resolution provided by the county, so we can make changes as you see fit.
Okay, as far as I'm concerned, let me take this off. It's easier that way. You talk about reducing congestion, improving safety. That's really from a vehicle traffic perspective, right? Not from the railroad perspective. Have you also, and I'm not really sure how the smart scale works, I think that's DOT funding that's mixed in that?
State, it's got federal funds in it.
Yeah. So I'm not sure, but there might be some federal funding from the FRA, and I'm not sure if that's a separate item for grade crossing elimination. You might want to look into that as for a funding source. They're always doing small programs for localities on that. And the other thing, a real important thing for us in town, although it's only going to be 19 years later, I think, or even further, is the quiet zone. Because once you plug that grade crossing into the model, that will reduce our QZRI, which is the risk index, and then we might be able to go forward with the quiet zone. So that's really important because the county tasked the town with promoting that and moving that forward.
We dealt with quiet zones in the east end, and it's very difficult to do, but you're right.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of stuff relative to that, but I think those are the key things that I had.
Good to know. Thank you.
Okay.
You done, Joe? So that's 2 lanes each way?
Yes.
What, has VDOT played into this? Are you guys meeting with VDOT as well?
Yes, we have. They haven't looked at it since we revised the concept in 2018, but I know we work with VDOT preliminary engineering closely on this.
Okay. Thank you.
So I recall the engineering is all but done on this. Are you under any particular time frame on this, or can the formal adoption of the resolution wait until next month, or are you in a hurry?
Not a hurry. The application's not due till August 3rd, and we're not required to submit any resolution support until October.
I would direct staff to have this ready for the August meeting in its final form, the resolution.
Are there any things on it, Joe, that you stuck out at you, the resolution itself?
Well, I think you could just elaborate a little bit more on the safety aspects relative to not just vehicle traffic, but rail safety.
Provide additional information.
Of course, I think you said it somewhere in here, it also improves throughput, vehicle traffic throughput, right?
So you're volunteering to help staff rewrite the
I'll help
resolution?
them, yeah.
That's what I thought.
And also, a lot of times, at least with this road, there's typically some type of a multi-purpose path on it. Is that what is in green?
Yeah, we would include a 10-foot shared use path. It would be on the west side of the roadway. I think it's shown as green.
Okay, and that's the green item on there?
Correct.
Would that connect to 15? I mean, the other side of 15 and 55?
Yes, it would. It would tie
That's the
into
intersection.
future development. The gas station's going there in the corner of 55 and 15.
Excellent.
That's my only question. Anybody else? Okay.
Thank you for consideration.
Thank you, Paolo.
I'm going to ask a question after Joe, the railroad and VDOT ask questions. Crazy.
Are there any other questions regarding my report at this time?
I think that covered everything on your report. Any more
If-
questions?
If not, we kind of already rolled into agenda item number 1, so.
It's already been disposed of.
Yeah.
So staff will work on that with Councilman Tassanello and the county as well.
Okay, the next agenda item is the appointments. I think we have some closed session things that we need to deal with before we can go through the appointments, mainly discussion of applications and everything else. I'd like to move that to after closed session, if I have agreement from the council.
Sir.
Okay, so we'll hit the next,
Event schedule and Haymarket Day.
That's
Yeah.
next, yeah.
event schedule on Haymarket Day.
So I'm going to actually pass the mic to Roberto to discuss the insurance question that we had at the orientation last week. He has feedback.
Good evening, Council. So I did reach out to Versa, our representative there. So many words, they did not state that they wouldn't cover the town to hold the event, but with precaution that keep in mind that the potential COVID comeback around that time period, that the town would need to, they hope the town would do everything possible to facilitate a safe environment for the public. So the distancing, the mask policy, it is, in my opinion, after discussing it, that even though they would cover it, it's something that I would suggest that maybe for this year we should cancel, considering that a lot of events similar to this are being canceled around the state. But I will let Emily speak more on that.
So based on that information we received from our insurance provider, we as staff kind of discussed it a little bit more in detail, as well as Councilman Weir's ideas and the others who provided ideas last week for kind of reimagining Haymarket Day and making smaller events. We too feel that maybe even in the coming weeks, we might see a new resurgence with just the 4th of July. We saw numbers going up in other states. So what we would like to propose is if we still want to do a Haymarket Day event, let's do a much smaller scale, base it completely in the park, and then just take all the necessary precautions that we can as a town to protect ourselves as well as our residents. If it is a possibility and council's in favor, we also would like to suggest that we postpone all events to May of 2021, and we revisit this in January or February. That gives us time to plan and set a schedule for a very robust event schedule in May and June. We can still use the money from this fiscal year. At that time, we can throw a lot of fun events for the community, and hopefully be out of the really risky stages of COVID. So that's where we stand as staff, but we of course are ready to hear all of your thoughts.
I'd be glad to speak up. Numbers are going up a lot too, not only the resurgence, but because a lot more people are being tested. But I'm just looking, I personally, I have a medical condition. I don't have to wear a mask. I do in some cases. But I personally would not want to really participate where there's going to be large crowds. I think, I don't know what the liabilities issues are there. My recommendation is we would postpone the events this year for the safety of our citizens. But that's just one opinion. And even if we had Haymarket Day then, I'll be in Las Vegas. So. You won't be, that's right.
My personal view, Mr. Mayor, is how could we do it and evaluate it for Christmas to still have our Christmas event? Because I understand and I agree in pushing it to March. You said March, right? May, yeah. Pushing it to March. I'm just kidding. But how could we set ourselves up to reevaluate it for our Christmas tree lighting family event that we usually have?
So our thought for that was, let's look at where we stand in October. We can make a decision tonight on Haymarket Day.
Nice.
However, with the holidays coming up in December, we can reevaluate. Is there something we can offer where the residents stay in their vehicles? Is there something we can offer where there's designated spaces for Christmas tree lighting viewing? You know, this year might not be the same with having Santa come visit, but there's ways around that maybe we can do more of a drive-through style lighting of decorations. So that's something we were trying to think about today. But I understand that, if we cancel our biggest event, how do we come back to the ones in December?
Notwithstanding, Mr. Mayor, I am in agreement with staff's recommendation.
I concur. I have some real concerns about going forward with any events at this point, especially as Steve mentioned that we're seeing a resurgence. I was listening to Dr. Fauci today, and he basically said that we're still in the first phase. We haven't had a rebound. We're nowhere near that. I wouldn't want to put anybody at risk. And I know we've had events where we've had people congregate, but even then it is very uncomfortable to be in that environment, even for the walks that went off very nicely, very peacefully, and there were good events. It was disconcerting to see some folks not really following social distancing. And I wouldn't want us to be in a position where we might contribute to somebody getting sick. I too have underlying conditions that I have to be very careful about. And as a matter of fact, I'm concerned about being in a very enclosed environment for closed sessions. So yes, you're outside. The chances are it'll be less likely transmittable, but still it's a possibility, especially when people are shoulder to shoulder. So I would think it makes a lot of sense to postpone, as many other organizations have done throughout this country and throughout the globe, many iconic events like the marathons and races and what have you. And I think there's a side benefit here to what Bob was talking about when we would chat about these ideas, is reimagining, as Emily said, reimagining Haymarket Day, right? And getting it back to something where it's more community-based and not as commercial, perhaps. But that's debatable, and that's up for discussion. The point being that I'd like to make here is I think it really will give staff an opportunity to reimagine itself and get back, I like to say, get back to basics of governing the town and managing the town. So that would give you guys more time to really look at a lot of these policies and be focused on the customer service, the policies, and the implementation of those policies for consistency. And that's one of the things that really irked me about having to reaffirm this document when it's been there for the last 10 years. And I hearken back to the planning document on the submission. We had something in effect, we just haven't been following it. So we need to make sure that we review all areas. And I think you guys are going to be busy enough, and I think that's going to be time well spent for the future of the town. So, long speech, I know, but I think we should postpone until next year.
I agree. I think that taking the safety of our community is of our utmost importance. I also think that being able to allow ourselves the time to plan accordingly to really come back and give our community something amazing is beneficial.
Bob?
Oh, the opposing view, right? When we were talking about this earlier, I wish that there were a way that we could bring something off. And although that might be possible when I'm sitting here listening to all the other stuff that's going on and everybody else is concerned, I'm obviously about as unconcerned about some things as people can be. It's just by nature. But I understand other people have serious concerns about it. But given that there's virtually nothing in place right now, there's been no planning because of COVID, trying to put something, I guess the word is, or I guess the description would be of some type of safe event for the community. I don't see it happening. I think we need to focused on next year. I mean, this year is a lost cause just because of how far down the calendar we already are. And I'm sitting here thinking about all the work that we have to do on comp plans, finances, IT issues, the list goes on and on. If we try and put something together ad hoc on a last-minute basis for an October 15-ish deadline, it's just not going to end well. So I would suggest we just go ahead and defer it for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and my comments are the same. It boils down to planning, policing, and funding. Policing, how do you really police social distancing? Planning, we've all discussed that already. Funding, you got to look at the impact of the businesses. These businesses are pretty much going to be our sponsors who pay for this, and how much are they willing to want to give when they got to struggle and figure out how they're going to keep their income generating. So I agree.
With that, I'll work on a message to put out to all of our residents first and foremost, our community, but also our business owners. And so we'll come up with something that, addresses our concerns, but also takes into consideration, how they may feel. And then we'll go ahead and post that tomorrow afternoon at the very latest. And then if anybody has any questions, feel free to direct them to us. We're happy to answer. And, the other thing is maybe we can look at a way, they have Support Small Business Saturday, which is right after Thanksgiving. So that gives us a little bit of time. We could try to find a way to encourage those businesses, how we can support them in that nature, since we can't help them out in October with Haymarket Day.
Mr. Mayor, are there any monies that we've collected that we need to reimburse?
So we have collected 2 sponsorship packages, and so we can look at reimbursing those. I don't know how the council wants to handle that, or if you guys would like to offer that when we do our event, if it's in May or June, or next October, that what we would do is just in a way credit those sponsors. So we would keep them on as our sponsors because they've already paid that due, if you will.
I think you have a personal contact and relationship with these
I do.
individuals.
Yes.
So if it's okay with the rest of council for you to dictate once you speak with them.
I do believe both sponsors went ahead and did a $2,500 sponsorship each, so I'll reach out to them and talk with them. They're returning sponsors that we've had for the last 2 or 3 years, and they very much love to get involved. So.
And any vendors?
No, we did not accept any vendor applications whatsoever. Only those 2 sponsors paid, and honestly, the moment we put the packages out in January, they hopped on it. I mean, one's an in-town business, and one is out-of-town business, but both are very community-oriented with Haymarket.
Do you think that letter needs to go out to previous vendors that we've had in the past?
Yes, so I'll send it out to our vendor list. We have about 450 people on there. That includes sponsors, other people who participate in the parade, our vendors. Very big list. We'll send that out. We'll post it on Facebook, the website, but I'll make those personal phone calls to our sponsors and some of the other people who are contractors who we always call, and they're counting on our business as well, and we'll just ask them to be patient with us for 2021.
Sorry, Joe, go ahead.
Good question, Chris. That was a question I was going to ask too, about the sponsorships, but also the budget. So unless it's my ADHD, and you talked about it before, the impact to our budget, because we had, 80,000 in the 21? I'm not sure. Is it 80?
Yes, we have 80.
Okay. So how does that reflect, by canceling these events, how is that going to reflect on that number?
Well, in simple terms, if we don't spend it, we don't receive it, we don't spend it. Meaning that if it will reflect as no revenue collected and no expenditure made.
So Roberto is basically indicating that the funds that we generate during Haymarket Day
Right.
pay for the additional events.
Right.
So if we postpone all the events and we don't have Haymarket Day,
Right.
then there's no real budget implication to this. However, we do have some carryover. So yes, we will need to address this
Okay.
in one of the quarterly amendments. But from our standpoint, if we're not expending the money for the
Right.
events and we're not getting the generating that income, then
Right.
it's, there's little to no impact. And in fact, we do have some carryover from last year, so we are actually not starting at zero.
Okay.
So that is hopeful that we will have some money to have events, like we don't have to generate income to offset it. So we'll have, what was it, 17? About $17,000 to hold some events. So if we wait till, January, February, that gives us a couple months that we can do that, as well as a potential to partner with some private-public partnerships to have some joint meeting or some joint events. So I think the ideas that they've got are pretty good, and I think we'll be able to move forward with it with little to no implication. We will have to make changes,
Right.
but
Yeah, you'll have to revise the numbers down,
Correct.
of course, and then we'll have to do whatever changes procedurally. But being a balance sheet, yeah, I get that. Yeah, one side balances the other. Okay.
I think we're all good. Okay, next agenda item, the Laney detail.
the Laney
Oh,
details,
okay.
what we addressed earlier.
Yeah, that's right.
So that one is good. The next one was the public bodies payment. And basically, I just wanted to come to you guys. Roberto was able to calculate the numbers, and the total for the public bodies, if you all held 2 meetings a month, which is the work session that last Monday, and then the regular meeting that first Monday, ARB had 1 meeting, and Planning Commission had 1 meeting a month. The total would be $35,914, and that includes wages, FICA, and Medicare. That would be 1.38% of the adopted budget. And so you all know, the termination or the sunset clause was set for June 30th. So if you all do not need to take action on this if you want to continue with the public bodies receiving payment. The only action you would need is if you wanted to continue to forfeit those funds.
So discussion?
Discussion, for me personally, I think it should stay as is, meaning if public bodies should receive their stipend.
It was something that was done during COVID, where it was a lot of things were up in the air. We did not know what was going to happen. Meals tax was dropping at a very high rate. We didn't know how long it was going to last, and because of that, that was an option that we had that was pretty quick, and we could make the decision and save some money there. So that's what was made in the recent months. Roberto can testify that really meals tax is starting to come back to where we were pre-COVID numbers. Not where we should be for June per se, but still, meals tax at a higher rate than what it was pre-COVID, so that's good news. And like we mentioned, it's 1.38% of the budget. And especially if we're tasking with comprehensive plan updates, the ARB has been directed in the past at least to update the guidelines. So I think these are certain items that compensation would go along with, especially if we're, expecting them to move quick, fast, and in a hurry. It's a little easier to do that if they're getting compensated in some way, shape, or form.
Well, yeah, I certainly wouldn't want to restrict the PC and the ARB personally. I mean, I think they should get their stipend. Me personally, I could go either way. But this could be something we could look at again and see what happens in a couple of months. If things start to go south again, we could always impose something like this. So I'm in favor of just not even adopting anything tonight.
Agree.
Robert?
And then the last item that we have is the CARES Act fund. As long as we're moving to the next item?
Yes.
Okay. So the last item we have is the CARES Act fund. Unfortunately, due to the June 29th meeting, and we had one council member who ended up having to leave for that meeting, and then we couldn't get the 4th member here for the second meeting. Really, this is just adoption and authorization for the mayor, myself, and Roberto to sign the agreement with Prince William County. to accept the CARES Act funds. That amount, it's $147,726 for this round. This is something that we need to act relatively quickly on. The previous mayor received this email. It was back in May, and unfortunately, I ended up getting emailed from the finance director at Prince William County. It was June 22nd, I believe, so I immediately got this in front of council as soon as I could. However, this is something that we do need to act on relatively quickly. Yes, sir.
Does this cover us for tranche 2 or just the first one?
This is only the first one.
Because I know they've already distributed the second round.
Really?
I
The
think
state?
I think the county handled the second round last month, or earlier this month.
I know they discussed it, Bob, but I don't think they've gone forward with it yet. I know it was a discussion.
I know they've been reallocating certain funds that they received from CARES Act, and they've been acting on that quite frequently. I'm not aware of a second
I
round
need
of
to check
funds.
because I think they got the second round already.
Okay. So then we definitely need to act on this so we can request the first round, and then shortly we should be receiving additional communication in regards to
We're going to have a discussion at a later date on
options.
options.
Yes, that's what the treasurer and I have really been looking at different options to provide, but we don't have the funds yet, so I think let's not put the cart before the horse.
Works for me.
So that discussion is what we're going to do with the funds?
Yes, so staff will come with options, and then you all can prioritize and allocate certain dollar amounts for different objectives.
Okay, with the rest of the council, I'd like to propose the motion.
Please.
Go for it.
To accept the revenues from the coronavirus relief fund from Prince William County and authorize the town manager, town mayor, and the town treasurer sign the certificate of receipt of coronavirus relief funds by town form.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Last chance for discussion. Put it up for vote.
Roll call, I believe.
Roll call. This is an important one, yes?
Weir,
Aye.
Passanello,
Yes.
Shannon, Morris, Pater.
Yes.
My mic wasn't on when I read the resolution. You think it recorded?
We'll have it.
Yes, and we have it written here as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for checking.
Okay. Now it's time for a closed session. I guess we need to read off.
I'm just saying, everybody left, so,
You can hold a closed session in here.
yeah.
Yeah. But I assume we'll do a stretch before we actually discuss, though. But first, I need to get the closed session.
The motion would be that to enter closed session pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.23711A1 and A8, specifically to address under A1 the appointments to boards, committees, and commissions, and the town manager's contract, and under A8, town records management issues requiring advice of council.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting. 2 minutes. I need to do a bio break, so I'll wait.
Question, in the nominations, can I do them per group? Like can I nominate?
You will need to make one of them is going to be the appointment.
The term.
So it's going to be the unexpired term, which will be Marchant, that's going to be the term ending in 2022.
Let's start this meeting back up. Even though we have a residual stuff going on here, right? We got the mics on and we're,
Start it back up. I mean,
Okay.
we did this discussion in open session.
Can I just get 2 minutes, please?
okay.
Yes, please. Because I need to.
So moved. Second.
Motion second. Roll call vote.
Weir?
Aye.
Fasenello?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Morris? Peter?
Yes.
Am I needed in this?
Practice has been, in fact, for the mayor to vote on that.
Morrison?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a resolution. Resolution 2020-016, resolution to expand the size of the Haymarket Planning Commission to 7 members, whereas the Haymarket Planning Commission membership now consists of 5 members, and whereas it is the desire of the Haymarket Town Council to expand the Planning Commission membership to 7, now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the Town of Haymarket, Virginia, meeting in regular session the 6th day of July 2020, that the Haymarket Planning Commission shall now consist of 7 appointed members.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Up for discussion? Pretty cool. Okay, we'll put it up for a vote then.
Okay.
Roll call.
Weir?
Aye.
Fasenello?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to recommend the following person to fill in the ARB post ending June 30th, 2023. Sheridan King.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion required? Let's put it up for vote. Roll call, please.
Weir?
Aye.
Fasenello?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to recommend for the ARB a term ending June 30th, 2022, Susan Lawson.
Second.
Got a motion and a second.
Did you second already? I did. Oh, okay.
To it. Okay, last chance for discussion. Put it up for a vote. Roll call, please.
Weir?
Aye.
Fasenello?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, for the Planning Commission, I would like to nominate for the term expiring June 30th, 2024, Alexander Bayin.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Last chance for discussion. Let's put it up for vote. Roll call.
Weir?
Aye.
Fasenello?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, also recommended for the Planning Commission a term expiring June 30th, 2024, Robert Hallett.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Last chance for discussion. Roll call, please.
Weir?
Aye.
Fasenello?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
We have a directive.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
without objection, I would ask that the town defer submitting any BZA recommendations to the circuit court until the August meeting.
Oh, second.
And without objection, I would like to direct the town attorney to proceed as discussed with respect to the town records.
Yes.
Just a directive.
Just a directive.
No
Okay.
objections?
No objection.
Objections?
Adjournment.
Okay, well, last agenda item, council member time, so, Chris Morris, you're the first on the list. I will go with you. Do you have any member time you want to speak of?
I'm excited for the next 2 terms. I really appreciated the lively, next 2 years. Well, we were going to stagger it. We were going to stagger it, you know. But I really appreciated the lively discussion that the new council has brought forward, and we've accomplished a lot already in our first meeting. I do want to pause to thank the staff. You guys survived a tough season, and I believe it has only made you better. I just want to thank you for hanging in there and just for your support over the years. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Joe, you're up next.
Brevity is key. It's almost 11 o'clock, almost 5 hours of the first meeting. It was predicted, but there was a lot of work done tonight. Just want to welcome everybody to the council, thank the staff for all their hard work. Looking forward to the next 2 years, as Chris said. And we've got a lot of work ahead of us, and I wish everybody the best of luck.
Okay, Tracy Lynn?
Equally excited. Thank you very much. I am looking forward to all of the learnings and improvements.
Okay, Marchant's not here, so we'll bypass him. Steve?
As I always do, I thank our staff for their professionalism and their output, as well as our police department, who I think's the best in the area. As I'm starting my third term, the first year I was appointed because our vice mayor had to step down for reasons. I'm looking forward to this. I will state this, as I did before. There are going to be times when we have to agree to disagree on this dais. But just as I did before, I will tell you, when I walk off this dais, I do not carry bad feelings with me or anything else. When I leave here, my council feelings stay here, and I don't carry or begrudge or anything. So other than that, I'm excited to serve on this team.
Okay, Bob?
Real briefly, one, I'd like to thank staff for working so closely with us and putting up with me because I can be miserable in here. Thank you for the support and the information you've given us. I know some of it was trying. Second thing, I'd like to thank the residents of Haymarket and the surrounding localities. They proved me wrong. They came out and they supported the restaurants with takeout and delivery at a level that I quite frankly find phenomenal. And I'd like to thank them for supporting that. And last but not least, I promised my daughter I would say this. I'd really, and I mean this, I'd really like to thank the youth voters in the town because they came out in numbers that I've never seen before. And I hope that it's not a one-off, and I hope they continue to vote in other elections and that. And it's sort of refreshing in the current environment to see a lot of them taking the initiative that they did this year, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, now it's my turn. With all of us, I would really like to thank the staff for their support and endurance. Town voters as well. Council members, I'm looking at having a good 2 years of arguments and discussions with all of you. I mean, the more dynamic or diverse the discussions are, the better the solutions. And again, thank you, town members, for voting us in. That's it for me. Next agenda item. Who wants to move?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say
Aye.
aye. Aye. In this meeting.
1 minute to spare.